himself eventually, but pragmatically speaking, was initiated by Srila Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada started this movement, he was greatly misunderstood by a lot of people, very specifically his own God siblings, God brothers, God sisters, who thought that, what the hell is he doing? Some even accused him of spoiling the Vaishnava tradition. Not majority, but a good number of even his own God brothers, which is very, very interesting. And that's how this movement started. And in some ways, it seems to me that that curse seems to follow from generation to generation. And specifically here, one thing that Srila Prabhupada understood, which other people did not, it seems to me, is that Prabhupada was a missionary. Seldom understood thing. According to Srila Prabhupada, for example, according to some core understanding of Krishna consciousness, missionaries are super rare. Because missionary is this person who, even if you're a missionary, you may not be one. If we were to think of a missionary as someone who's completely selfless. And so when it comes to teaching Krishna consciousness, a missionary is someone who understands it, someone who has tasted it and wants to give it, share it with others. Why? Because it's a good thing. And because to share this good thing has been told to you by other good people before, and these good people, we would call them previous teachers. So this is the Hare Krishna movement. And so when it comes to, we live in the Western world, and in order to be a successful missionary in the Western world, one thing I noticed about being a missionary and being a successful missionary is that there's a great need to not live in your own shoes, but to be able to see the world before I say to see the world from Krishna's perspective. As a missionary, you first need to see the world from the perspective of the people you're going to try to connect with, to understand where they are so that you can help them go from there to Krishna consciousness. And this is typically what we do, those of us who are not mature missionaries. We put ourselves in our own shoes and are incapable of understanding what we do and what effect it has on the people we're trying to connect with. Because we're incapable of putting ourselves into the shoes of the people we're trying to talk to. What's interesting, business people are really good at it. When it comes to money, people are very good at it. But when it comes to matters that are of no money for you, somehow or other you're incapable of doing this. So we live in the Western world, and in the Western world, there are certain concerns that there's certain elements that have shaped the mind and heart of a Western person. If we were to begin there, one thing about the Western mind is that Western mind is heavily leaning towards empiricism. And empiricism is this attempt to learn about the world from your own perspective. and empirically. Like, things need to be making a lot of sense. You cannot expect people to believe merely because it's written in your book. you cannot expect from people to believe because your teacher said so. You have trust in your teacher, you have trust in your guru, but the modern people, it's not their guru, it's not their book. And so one of the reasons why religion is in the modern world is going down is this empiricism. And so very often it is upon us this heavy burden to try to in as rational as possible of a way try to explain Krishna consciousness to the modern mind. But what's interesting, if you know a little bit of history of Western intellectualism, it leads to nothing. Like when people are left to their own devices, their own intelligence, their own mind, things that you can prove, at the end of the day, you cannot prove anything. Very interesting phenomenon. And throughout history, this has resulted in absurdists. Like modern people are largely absurdists. You know what an absurd is? Does anyone know what absurd is?
Nonsensical.
Nonsensical. Makes no sense. In other words, it's like a contradiction. You have two values that cannot exist at the same time. And so, what is this absurd, or what is this contradiction? One is that you want to know, and the other one is that you cannot know. And so you end up in this absurdist position. And yeah, most people actually just commit themselves to sense gratification at the end of the day. And so many of us who have grown up in the West, we have the same problem. We rely heavily on our sensory input, what our intelligence says, what the reason says. But at the end of the day, by this process, you cannot conclude anything. And this is where religion in general and Krishna consciousness specifically begins. And this is to look at the world through Krishna's eyes, in order to get a glimpse of understanding as to what is this world. And so basically, the situation of every person in this world, of those who actually seek the truth, even among religious people, very few seek the truth. Most people just seek comfort. And they come to religion, including Krishna consciousness, for comfort. But such people rarely become pure devotees, according to Bhagavad Gita. People who have the best chance to become pure devotees are, do you know which people, according to the Bhagavad Gita?
Jnani.
Those who seek the truth. Not necessarily jnani. I mean, the term is used jnani, but the term jnani has a heavy connotation of something else. But this refers to a person who seeks the truth. Most people seek comfort, even unfortunately. Well, that's just humans. So even when people come to Krishna consciousness, mostly seek comfort. But if you're a true seeker, then you have the best chance of becoming a pure devotee. And now the interesting thing is, if you're this truth seeker and you have tried this Western thing, the science, chemistry, physics, math, at the end of the day, even philosophy explains nothing. Even in the Vaishnava tradition, there is a joke that to be a muni, muni means a thoughtful person, means you have to have your own opinion, your own unique opinion, and no one can conclude anything. That's what muni means. And so therefore there is a tremendous need in order for you to understand, to start to make a sense of it all, You obviously, we all obviously, everyone needs a ready package. And religion in general is a ready package. And Krishna consciousness is one of those packages. And the package is given to you. And it's not given to you merely to believe it right away. But it's given to you, take a look at it. And see if looking through this package at the world, does the world now make a lot more sense to you? And if this package of thoughts, ideas, and perspectives illuminates the world for you, you grow in Krishna consciousness. Faith grows. This is called Shraddha. And in Krishna consciousness, spiritual advancement is described in terms of advancement in Shraddha, or faith or conviction, whichever way you want to put it. So, this is ultimately what it means to look at the world through Krishna's eyes. It's everywhere in our scriptures. Sometimes it's said to look at the world through the eyes of the scripture, Shastra. Sometimes it's stated to look at the world through the eyes of knowledge, Vedic knowledge, which basically means the same. Or to look at the world through the eyes of the Guru, which is again very much the same. Because Guru, Sadhu and Shastra is one thing, Shastra, the scripture. Guru and Sadhu merely explain the scripture. Now there's an interesting thing among religious people where they're not truth seekers. And so even when they come to this package, they just have a need to believe. And they say, I believe. But that has no serious value. Serious value arises from you actually seeing the world through the eyes of Krishna or Vedic literature. When you look at the world and you say, oh my God, this makes sense. But trust me, if you do this, you are also going to have disagreements with the very scriptures you're reading. And that's totally fine. Not to be demonized. And as you advance in Krishna consciousness, as you deal with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, you're going to mature and your understanding is going to mature. And then more of these answers you get, more you're going to be taken over by Krishna consciousness. There's an interesting mantra taken from the Vedic literature, and it's used as the official slogan of the country of India. Does anyone know perhaps that mantra?
Satyam eva jayate.
Satyam eva jayate. Na anritam goes further, but it doesn't matter. They just took the first line. Satyam eva jayate. Does anyone understand the Satyam means truth. Eva means certainly, Jayate means victory. That the nature of truth is that it conquers. And when you see something as true, it conquers you. Once I gave a very radical example of this. Please don't stone me for saying this, but even if you were to come to see Krishna consciousness as untrue, you could not do it anymore, because that is the nature of truth. Truth conquers. So therefore, if you see the world through the eyes of Krishna, which is the eyes of the scripture, and you see that it's truthful, it conquers you. It's stronger than you, and this is Krishna consciousness. And what's interesting, if speaking of Hare Krishna epistemology, the philosophy or the theory of knowledge, how do you come to know something? According to Krishna, if you know, you love. Krishna said, if you know, you love. Because that's the nature of knowledge. Ultimately brings you to loving. And so Krishna said, if you understand who or what am I? You adore me, you worship me, you love me. And then so first one is, if you know you love, but then goes on to say, if you love, then you really come to know. So all of this is just an introduction to the point of loving, which is devotional life, devotional service. And if you come to this point of actually loving, then you really get to know. Oh my God, that's what it is. And Srila Prabhupada, in order to illustrate this, used the example that his own guru used, a jar of honey. I mean, if you look at honey, a jar of honey, you can get to know a few things about it, that it's maybe yellowish, its texture, density, or whatnot. But really, you may even hear that it's nourishing and so on. But if you taste it, oh man, dude, that's honey. So yeah, you can study. You can be the Westerner who's analyzing everything, and therefore understand the nature of honey. But once you taste it, then you really come to know what honey is. And so this is ultimately Krishna consciousness. Om Tat Sat. I hope I was brief enough. Oh man, that rhymes. I'll use that for my next rap song. It rhymed by accident.
Thank you, Maharaj. That was very, very nice, very wonderful. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking clearly. I should have gone first because you're a hard act to follow.
That's very sweet of you to say.
Well, now everyone gets a chance to see what a real loser I am. They're sitting there thinking, okay, what are you going to say now, buddy? So you just laid a straight flush on the table. How do I beat that?
No, we're not here to compete.
No, we're not. I know better than that because I would lose. So better to align with you. So interesting title that you came up with. Looking at reality through Krishna's eyes. Is that it? So yeah, I often tell people we have to meditate on what is it that Krishna sees when he looks at you. What does he see? How much time do we spend thinking about that? I mean, we look in the mirror and we think, oh, I'm getting another line there, or I'm looking a little pale today, or the sun is good for me, I'm looking better, or this medicine I'm taking. But I'm looking at this deteriorating body. Krishna doesn't see this body when he looks at me. Do you think he looks at you and sees your body? No. We identify, I see your body, and I know, well, that's that soul, but we can't see that soul yet. Krishna looks right at you, his part and parcel. That's his reality. Reality to Krishna is his loving family. There is God and his loving associates, and they're exchanging this love. This is the only real reality, or the only true reality. When we come to the material world, we start thinking that there's so many other realities. This is real, that is real. The real truth is I have to get out and make a living. The real truth is I have to find a mate. I have to this, I have so many truths out there, and they're all relative, you see. But the truth, the real absolute truth, is that we're in a love affair with Krishna. That's the reality that he sees, and he doesn't have to see your nonsense. He doesn't have to look at you and say, "Oh, well, you're behaving like a monster now." I don't even know you anymore. You ever heard someone say that to someone else? Maybe they've said it to you. I don't think I know you anymore. I remember my mother told me that whenever I went through different phases of my life. I don't think I know you. You know, well, Krishna always knows you. He looks at you as his eternal part and parcel. He's never seen you any other way. It's just like, Halloween. In America, is Halloween big in Europe?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
See, I didn't know,
Yeah,
but it's big.
It's a bit of different flavor here, but it's pretty big.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing here. It's completely imaginary, made up thing, just something to do. It's based on All Saints' Day, and yes, we'll get into that later on. But, so I remember, when Halloween would come, kids would dress up. You put on some costume, and the idea is to be able to go out and knock on doors, and whoever opened the door, even though they're your neighbor, they don't know who you are because you've got this real thing going on. You're a pirate or a cowboy or a soldier. You see, so it's like kids for a day. They dress up. They look indistinguishable. You don't know who they are. Parents know, but nobody else knows if you do a really good job, So that's us right now in this material world. We're putting on a costume. We designed it. This is from our desires and our activities and the resultant actions of reactions of our actions. So it's just a temporary costume that we're wearing. Krishna doesn't have to look at this ridiculous costume that we've put together. This is all from us, from our desires. Somehow or other, I've wound up with this particular body. Well, Krishna doesn't have to tolerate my nonsense, or he doesn't have to participate. He still sees you. It's like your mother when you're going out trick-or-treating. She knows it's you. And when she comes home, she knows it's you. She doesn't think, oh, who is this? I mean, they may say that, So, did Charlie do trick-or-treating? Did he do? Yeah. I'll bet he dressed up really, really good. Probably did. Yeah. So, but Krishna doesn't see this temporary costume that we're wearing. He doesn't have to get caught up in our illusion. He sees you as you really are, and he knows who you are, and he knows what your eternal relationship is. He's never forgot it, not for a heartbeat. You see, he's letting you do your thing, waiting for you to finish what it is that you want to do separate from him so that you can come back to your eternal partnership with Krishna. A partnership. What do partners do? I'm not talking about now, if somebody, instead of getting married, people are called, they call themselves partners. I don't mean that. I mean partners. Business partners. What do? They work together. If you and I are partners, if we're real estate partners, we work together. I don't work against you. We work for the benefit of each other, which is, so the nature of the living entities is that we are in constant partnership with the Supreme, except for this brief period of many trillions of births. It's brief because we're eternal. We've come to this material world to end that partnership. We want to say, no, we're not partners anymore. I'm going to go out and start my own thing. I don't need your help, you see. So, but Krishna knows, no, we're still partners. You've just chosen to go off and pursue your own thing. So, but the nature of the living entity, the reality is the living entities working with harmony with Krishna. That's what we do. This is the only reality. That harmony is, we always talk about, we serve God. Yeah, we do. But what does God do for us? Well, everything. He's the source. Everything that we've ever had came from him. It's like a parent. Everything the child ever has, the parent is given the child. So, so Krishna, and we're in partnership. Krishna is serving us. Krishna wants us to surrender to him because he wants to surrender to us. That's what lovers do. When you're in love with some lovers, they become vulnerable to each other. They surrender to each other. I want to serve you, but I want to serve you. Krishna wants, you know, we know his personality from reading Krishna book. We know this guy. We know what he's like. You see? It's not just a one-sided, equilateral, unilateral thing. You serve me, that's it. No, I want to serve you. But your position as my part and parcel is to serve me. And I always serve you. We serve each other. It's a partnership. And so Krishna, I had to write it down so I can remember what verse I was going to talk about. That, pardon me, I'm a little out of it because I've had some oral surgery this week, and so I'm not talking very good. I've got stitches in my mouth, and so I've been focusing on that, so I'm a little forgetful. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 22nd verse, he describes how this partnership is, how he wants to be in partnership with you. That's his reality. That's how he sees his relationship with you. He says, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. It's like, I'm not going to take anything from you. You keep what you have. I'll preserve that. Not only will I preserve it from me taking it, but I won't let anybody take it from you. I will preserve it, you see. And I'll carry whatever you lack. Whatever you come up short, I'm there. I'm there for you. I'll fill in the gap. We're working together here. This is a love union that we have with the Source. Don't you hate it when people call God, they call Krishna Source? Do they do that in San Diego very much?
Sure they do.
You know, yeah, Source did this and Source did that. It's not, so Krishna says, what does he want? I want you to always worship me with exclusive devotion. You know, exclusive devotion. It's like when two people get together, they're seeing a lot of each other and maybe they're dating, you know. At some point, if the relationship is really gonna stay, they want to take it to the next level. Can we be exclusive? I don't want you to date anybody else but me. Krishna's saying here, I want exclusive devotion. I don't, you're loving over here and loving over there, worshiping this and worshiping that. No, I want exclusivity. I want it. I want your love and I want your worship. You worship me, everybody gets taken care of. It's like watering the root of a tree. So you give your love to me exclusively, and I'll see that it filters down to those who need to get a little taste of your devotion. You give it to me first. Everyone's going to be taken care of. So Krishna wants us to be exclusive. Meditate on my transcendental form. Look at me. Just look at me. I'm Krishna. Aren't I beautiful? I'm looking at you, my part and parcel, and since I'm beautiful, and you're my part and parcel, you are beautiful too. Well, I can't get enough of looking at you. So I want you, instead of looking at all the other forms in the material world that are constantly changing, even the mountains are changing, they're just changing slowly. I want you to look at me. Look at me. You can't resist me. I can't resist you. You're my beautiful part and parcel. So we are in this loving affair together. And if you'll do that, you know, whatever you lack, I'll see that it's covered. You see, and you'll lose nothing. This whole process will cost you nothing. You just chant my name. Just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Offer me a little something. I don't need, if you see, it's like we can go, sometimes we find, especially in America, we find these really good apples, You can't get apples like that in India. So I miss the American apples when I spend the winter in India. But the apples in America are really good. So, but compared to Krishna's apples, is Lakshmi's or Gopis give them? Our Honeycrisp apples in America are nothing. He doesn't need our stinking apples. He doesn't need your unripe papayas. You need to offer it to him. You find the best you can out of the worst, and you offer it with love and devotion. That's our partnership. Just give me love and demonstrate it. Offer me something, even though we both know that the mango that you've got here that comes from Mexico is nothing like mangoes in India. We know that. But Krishna wants you to give them to him anyway because of that loving exchange, this experience that he gets when you just give him something out of love. So it's like sometimes a child on the father's birthday, the child may draw a birthday card. And then a little kid, he draws stick figures, and writes, "Happy birthday, Daddy," or "Mommy." And this spells everything, and it's just, it's really, art-wise, it's garbage. But you look at that, the parent looks at that and thinks, and it touches your heart, isn't it? There's no talent behind it, it's love, you see. I remember when my mother left her body 20-something years ago, whatever it was. I was looking through her stuff and I found this little card that I wrote to her on her birthday. I don't know how old I was. It was real young. She had kept it for like 60-something years. She had this thing. It was garbage. But she kept it. It meant a lot. So your offering of some unripe mango or whatever, that means everything to Krishna. Of course, it's not as good as what he's used to. But that love that you put with it, that's what he thrives on. That's all he wants. Okay, so I probably talked enough. I think we can open it up for questions and answers.
I have a question, Maharaj. Your class was good. You were Dave. Maharaj, that was, thank you. Thank you both. You mentioned the truth seeker is the person has the best chances of becoming a pure devotee. And then you mentioned that people become religious out of comfort. And I was thinking deeply about that sometimes we may find that we're truth seekers in the beginning, and that risk of taking, comfort always comes. We make some progress, we have this life-changing event, we join Krishna consciousness, and then, it's really powerful, but then that kind of desire for comfort always comes back. And we have to kind of remind ourselves that this is a truth-seeking journey. So can you speak a little about that? How does that truth-seeking, how do you protect it from being affected by this comfort consciousness?
What do you think, Balaram?
I was looking at a picture of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay.
We can take the mic off the stand and pass it.
I think that's a very serious question, and I also think that to answer it well, one would have to speak from his own fond of experiences like that in spiritual life, in Krishna consciousness. we obviously are pleasure-seeking creatures. I mean, Ananda Mayobhyasa is it's stated that the soul, by its very nature, is always seeking Ananda, bliss, pleasure, satisfaction, which is some sort of a comfort, we could also say. So that's there in us. And I really wouldn't want to make the mistake of reducing spiritual life or spiritual path to an intellectual process. I think that'd be a terrible mistake, because at the end of the day, reason is quite unreasonable. I made that mistake and I almost ruined my life. And it was a super good lesson. Then I could see how reason by itself is unreasonable. Like, it makes no sense. So that's why in Krishna consciousness we find a really good combination of reason and also if I just call it comfort, it may sound bizarre, but there should be comfort. There should be comfort, not necessarily physical comfort, but the soul should find comfort ultimately in Krishna consciousness. Reminds me of that story Prabhupada wrote, Liquid Beauty. Did anyone of you read that story, Liquid Beauty?
Maybe not
Yeah. Anyhow, the story begins with the question, can the truth and beauty coexist? A very good question. So here we could also say, can good logic, reason, and coexist with beauty or comfort and so on. And I think that, to me, I found that in Krishna consciousness, and that sort of completes the picture. So yes, I can understand that we seek satisfaction ultimately. Even if we were to find something that makes a lot of sense, but it's painful, and painful forever, not just momentarily, we would never make that choice, because at the end of the day, it makes no sense. So, as far as I can tell, Krishna consciousness, at least I found in Krishna consciousness, a very good combination of good reasoning and good comfort. Ultimately, comfort for the soul. And so, where we could possibly go wrong, and where we do go wrong, is when we sell out. Instead of being honest, we sell out for comfort, and that's to me, that's a failure. That's why, for example, there's this. Just a lecture of Prabhupada came to mind where he spoke that unless you're tapasvi, you cannot come to know. Because the culture of knowledge requires culture of tapasya or austerity. Why? That's the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. You have to be able to rise above summer and winter, pleasant and unpleasant, in order to be objective. But that's, very much still on the platform of, jnana, like intellectual understanding of things. But at least it puts you in a position of greater honesty, so that you don't sell out when you come to the point of being offered comfort. And then when you're offered comfort, you just... that's how people become fundamentalists. Like if you think the meaning of the term, what's the term, dogmatic. Do you know what dogmatic means?
Highly opinionated. Well, highly opinionated and forceful about the opinions, basically.
Yeah, in other words, you have a strong belief in a thing without a whole lot of reason. And that's a lot of religious people. And what's interesting that Krishna chooses Jnani there, as a person who seems to have that honesty to be open to truth. And then when you see something as true, it changes you. Because truth conquers, you can't go against it. That's why people don't want to see the truth. I remember once I was selling books, Prabhupada's books in Pacific Beach in San Diego. And I met a guy who actually bought a couple of books from me. And we were talking, and we came to, somewhere or other we touched on the topic of eating meat. And I thought, man, that's like violence. I mean, you would not want someone else to treat you like you treat animals. I mean, you feel pain, that means the animal's feeling the pain, And he was listening, he says, yeah, but it's tasty. In other words, his attachment to the taste would not allow him to experience what animals experience in the process of becoming his food, which is horror. And what's interesting in the Bhagavad Gita, not only in the Bhagavad Gita, but there are few places in the Bhagavatam also, where spiritual advancement is not defined in religious terms, but it's defined in ethical terms. How does it go? 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse where Krishna if it comes to me, I'll quote it. But it says that one who experiences, one who is capable of feeling what other beings are feeling, Atmaupamyena sarvatra sarvam pashyati yoginaha. Sukhabhayati. No, now I'm mixing two verses. I remember first two lines. Maybe the other two will come by the end of tonight. But basically, Krishna is describing this process of your consciousness growing past the boundaries of your own body and starting to experience not only what you experience, but you actually are capable of experiencing what other beings are experiencing. Similar statements are made in the pastime of Dadichi. If you remember Dadichi in the Bhagavatam, the one who gave the bones of his body, his life, for a higher cause. And if you read those purports by Srila Prabhupada, it says this is the perfection of religion. To be able to feel what others are feeling. So this is not a religious, it's an ethical or moral statement. And so when you're clouded by that attachment to comfort, like the comfort of pleasure, like the guy who was eating meat, you just couldn't penetrate him. Like that attachment would not allow him to be objective. But that can also happen to someone who's chanting Hare Krishna. As a matter of fact, it happens a lot of the time. Maybe not something cardinal like that, but in some minor ways.
That verse, Bhogashvara Prashakana, it
Confuses the consciousness,
We're too attached
Yeah.
to that opulence and sense gratification. They don't have the determination to do that.
And when I pressed him again, all he said was, when I asked him, so why do you eat meat? Because I want to. You just couldn't get to the guy. But what's interesting, afterwards I saw myself in it, not in regards to eating meat, but some other issues. Like my choice of being a monk, for example, and not being dispassionate towards those who are not monks. I was partial. The reason why I started and developed the ashram in San Diego was not because I was a great lover of God, but because I found great comfort in being a monk. And in order to be a monk, you need a company of monks. So I thought, I'll just increase the numbers of monks. Not very Krishna conscious.
Any question from the audience here? Yeah, not devotees, but outside, yeah. Our friends, any questions? Yeah.
I just, I don't have a specific question, but I thought it was really awesome kind of talk.
We need this mic. I think we can.
It's helpful for the video.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
It was just a really awesome talk. And I just wanted to point out that I don't have a real deep understanding of the exact definition of empiricism, but I do understand that it's in the Western tradition, it's been this idea of the only truth that can be derived is from sense experience. I thought it was interesting that you pointed out that one of the things that we're seeking is to see the world from Krishna's perspective, and that is a form of experience. So we are seeking an actual empirical realization, but we are coming at it from in Western philosophy, it's the opposite of empiricism is rationalism and idealism. So we find truths that are self-evident but not to the senses, and so I think there's a harmonization within teachings of Prabhupada, of these two things: experience but not sense experience, and the recognition of self-evident absolute truth, and So
very much so. And if you look, our Western chapter is really young, but the Vaishnava or Vedic tradition is very old, and very vast, and very mature. So, at least for me, having gone through all of the studies of logic, reason, philosophy, and whatnot, I found this great balance in the Vaishnava tradition. And I think you have identified that very well.
Yeah, it's just, you cannot, like you said, you cannot find in Western, it doesn't go anywhere. There's no application of the principles in Western philosophy, and we do find that in Vaishnavism, definitely. And I've been, researching things, a number of years ago I came to this point where I wanted to figure out, okay, so what do I want to actually do? I'm very interested in philosophy, but I'm interested in practical philosophy, what I found was Western philosophy can make some really great points, like pointing out that ultimately the world of the senses can never be proven. We do not see the world the way it is. We see it represented to us by our senses, but you can never prove that it's not actually a mental projection and this kind of stuff. But it doesn't tell you, all right, how do I live on, out of that? And we're ultimately looking for meaning beyond this life, and that does lead to the realization that we need to develop ethical intuitions and that kind of thing, and that's,
May I say something to that? What you just said. Actually, they have proven, science has proven that we all see things through our own image. I may see something, you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at, I see one thing and you see another. One example given is that detectives, in criminal detectives, they know for a fact that one of the least reliable pieces of evidence is an eyewitness. Because, the robbers drive away in a car. One guy says, well, it was a blue car, it was a blue Toyota. Another guy saw a white Chevy. And it goes on, and this is proven. So, and science has studied this. I read an article a few years ago about that, and I forgot 99% of it. But I remember the point was that what you're looking at, and I'm looking at the same thing, we may be seeing something similar, but something very different.
false memories and that.
Because this material world is, it's a moving target. It keeps going. I mean, just look around us, especially in America. You've got two parties. The country in America is split pretty much down the middle. Two parties, 150 million, 170 million people on one side see one thing as truth, and 170 million people on the other side see something else as truth. They're looking at the same thing.
Right.
You see? It's just a world of illusion. That's the nature of this place. So, yeah, I mean, if we're going to look, at the world the way Krishna looks at the world, then we have to look at everyone as his part and parcels, which changes the whole way we deal with people. Well, we no longer have the right to judge people. If you're part and parcel of Krishna, but I disagree with your political views, you're still part and parcel of Krishna. But you may be an illusion. If I believe one thing, I'm an illusion. If you believe another thing, you're an illusion, because both of these parties are in complete illusion.
Right.
All of their leaders are thieves and rogues. They're an illusion. Cheaters, you see. So I have to see you as part and parcel of Krishna. I have to continue to make sure that I don't lose track of that. Otherwise, I'll try to treat you as your body. You're an American, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're this, and you're that. So that's one of the most difficult things, challenges we have, is to always see the living entities as part and parcel of Krishna, and that they need our help. So.
You can go, Chandra. I was just going to share a comment. I was just going to share one comment that Krishna says that this process is self-evident too. There's that element. It's pratyak, savagyamam dharmam. It's the perfection of religion because it's perceivable, not just because it's we believe or I have this faith or that faith. That Krishna consciousness is considered the perfection of religion because you can perceive it. You can actually taste it.
And self-evident.
Krishna consciousness can and will and is supposed to destroy your faith. Now that sounds like a bold statement. But I mean, faith. What is faith? Faith is a bridge to knowing. I meet you, I think, what a nice guy. I think, wow, this guy, I have faith that you'll be a good friend. I don't know, but I have faith. Faith isn't knowing. Faith is an investment. Now, as time goes by, I'll know whether you're a good friend or not. So faith is something that takes us someplace. Hope. As a devotee of Krishna, I gave up hope decades ago. I don't recommend hope. Hope seems it means you are needing something. It's not proven, but I have hope. And people say when they're down and out, well, at least I have hope. No, you need knowing. You need to have what it is that you're hoping for, you see. So faith and hope, I say, have nothing to do with being a devotee of Krishna, except in the beginning. In the beginning, I invest faith in Krishna. But knowing will come. It happens to all devotees. Knowing sometimes takes longer.
Well, our society often thinks that we're a scientifically based society and we don't rely on faith, but ultimately everybody is having faith in something because, you know, the vast majority of people are not scientists. They have not performed the experiments that reveal the scientific principles. They believe what they're told in the book, you know. And
neither it's possible to perform all of the experiments.
Right.
So, can I just, I have another question, but I was always, you know, when we used to write letters, if we didn't know the person, we would put, you know, yours faithfully, and if we knew them, we would say yours sincerely. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah. In England we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my question, what I was saying is, a question maybe for both of you, if you want to, but is it, you know, to be a truth seeker and all those things, of course we're looking inside ourselves because we care about ourselves, we care about our health, our bodies, and all these things so that we could be of service. And that caring is important, and of course then we care about animals, that's why we're not eating them. But how do we really care about others, not just the people in our family, you know, I care about my child, but how do we care about those that are vulnerable in some way, old age, sickness, you know, people that are vulnerable in some way? How can we sincerely care about them to the point where we can reach outside of our bubble, outside of our box, to act on that caring, to help them, you know, step up a little bit so that they can feel that love and that care as well, you know, from Krishna, like that, how, you know, because it's easy to say, oh, it's so nice, you know, oh, these people, they're being cared for in nursing homes or here, or they're teachers, but are they really being cared for, and how, you know, how can we really step out to achieve that instead of it just being, you know, well, we know they're over there and somebody else is caring for them, we've got to focus over here. It just feels like that care sometimes is missing, that true sense of care.
Would you like to respond? I would say two things. And like one thing was very interesting to me about Srila Prabhupada and even Srila Saraswati Thakur, which over the years we have also seemed to have been misunderstood and sometimes even abused. And this is categorically deeper picture of things. And therefore, when it comes to care, you care in the deepest sense, like you care for the soul. And because ultimately everything comes and goes. So from that point of view, like even Prabhupada would say, however many hospitals you may open, it alleviates problem just for a while. And then there's another birth or, you know, continuation of the problem in this very life, like Mother Teresa she also had a lot of critics. I don't know if you know this, but like she would, you know, feed the people taken from the street, and then when they were better, put it back on the street. So, you know, Christian saying is teach the person to, well, we wouldn't say that, but teach the person to fish, you know. We don't fish, but anyhow, in terms of a principle, like you don't just feed the person, you teach the person how to procure food. And so, why? Because if you merely feed the person, you have alleviated problem just for a while. And then when it's over, the problem is still there. And when the problem's back, it's almost like it has never been away. And so that's why the transcendental care, And very specifically, Hare Krishna movement has that as its primary goal. Now, some number of devotees have taken this as a license for cruelty and callousness, and therefore would be capable of being callous towards others' sufferings. Whereas we do find Srila Prabhupada, for example, when he saw people going through garbage in hopes of finding food, that it hurt him deeply. And that was the beginning of the Food for Life initiative. And Srila Saraswati Thakur, even though he was an extreme transcendentalist, but still he would sometimes give money to beggars to alleviate their problem, at least for some time. Why not? When I traveled with my Guru Maharaj in India, I haven't traveled with him for a long while now, but some 15, maybe even 20 years ago, I don't know, time flies. When we were in India, there's a lot of beggars and hungry people, and he would always carry loads of prasadam to keep, which I found quite sweet. So it's not that Hare Krishna movement is against alleviating problems even temporarily, but we do understand that our primary focus really should be a transcendental education or transcendental transformation. And we do have a global goal, not a local just for our own little community. Our goal is global, which was very surprising to the first devotees that gathered around Prabhupada in New York. They thought that we're going to be this fuzzy little group, forever. And then Prabhupada left to open up other chapters of the Hare Krishna movement. The devotees were all shocked. They said, wow, what's going on here? So we do have a global goal. Now, how far we're going to get with it, I don't know. I mean, there's some predictions that we will manage, but let's see. And so what I'm thinking primarily that's the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement, and we as Hare Krishna missionaries, that's what we focus on. But personally, if I can alleviate someone's pain even temporarily, I will. That's my take on it. I hope. Does that satisfy your choir? Okay. Would you like to address the same?
I agree. So I can look intelligent if I just agree with the intelligent people. So. Again, trying to see ourselves eternally as Krishna, as partner with Krishna. What does Krishna want? Well, it's obvious. Krishna wants all the fallen conditioned souls to come home. You see, it's not like he's this callous God. And he's got so many other wonderful people that he doesn't miss you. You're going, who needs him? Well, he's not like that. Every one of us is his very favorite. Every one of us is very unique, very special. So he wants you back to being you. That's what he wants. And everyone else, all the living entities. So, but because we have free will, he can't have it. Unless he forces it, but he's not so cheap to force your love. So he's waiting. So, knowing that I'm a partner with Krishna, and he wants this, let me work to get him what he wants. So let me try to convince others. Let me try to inform them about Krishna, convince them to surrender to Krishna, and discuss the benefits. The benefits of surrendering to Krishna. something we were talking about, I forget who mentioned it, maybe it was you or someone, but in the beginning, I know I did, and I think most people do make the decision to become a devotee of Krishna because it's the best thing for me. I'll benefit from this. I remember thinking all my life I had tried all these different religions. Judaism, Christianity, blah, 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 on and on, Ekankar, the impersonal, I tried it all, and wasn't satisfying, you see. It wasn't good for me. I still wanted knowledge. So then when I met the devotees of Krishna and I read Srila Prabhupada's books, I realized this is good for me. It was self-motivated all the way. I will benefit. I'll feel more pleasure from being happy, educated. I'll have answers. This is good for me. And that's okay. I think most of us think in the beginning, this is the better thing for me to do for me. And as we practice Bhakti Yoga for some time, we start to be interested in what can I do for you, Krishna, so I should give you. But in the beginning, it's okay to be convinced that this is what I want to do because this is a better thing for me. That's how people in the material world, that's how living entities make their decision. This will be better for me, so I choose to do it. So we just have to give them Krishna consciousness and demonstrate how this will be better for you, and then let the chanting of Hare Krishna, taking prasadam, associating with the devotees, hearing, chanting, remembering, let that take its effect, and at some point we'll lose our self-interest and just be interested in what is the better thing for Krishna and all the other living entities.
Haribol.
Haribol. Good to see
Ashkata
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद जय अश्वदेश श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास साधु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासुरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपिकानाथ राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। गंगा यमुना की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Go to Premanandi Hari Lord.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste
Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Jnanam
Hare